for May 26, 2020. Glad you can join us digitally. I look forward to seeing you all in person when we can, but until then, we'll make use of our technology as best we can. So, the Development Review Commission is created to hold public meetings and hearings to provide analysis and recommendations to the City Council regarding general land use policies and applications where the Commission has recommendatory power, and to render final decisions on specified applications where the Commission has final decision-making power, including but not limited to all aspects of a proposed and future development. The Development Review Commission recognizes that the creation of a desirable environment throughout the city for residents, business, and industry is a prime requisite for the interdependence of land values, aesthetics, and good site planning. By promoting harmonious, safe, attractive, and compatible development that is therefore considered to be in the best interest of public health, safety, and general welfare. Any person aggrieved by a final decision of the Development Review Commission may file an appeal to the City Council within 14 calendar days after the Development Review Commission has rendered its final decision. All right, so there's that mouthful out of the way. Let's introduce who we've got with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm going to do, since this is virtual, is announce the person, and if that person would say that they are present, that would be helpful. To my virtual left, we have Commissioner Tom Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Don Casano.
Present.
Vice Chair Mike DiDomenico.
Present.
And I am Chairman David Lyon. To my virtual right is Commissioner Scott Sumners.
Present.
Commissioner Phil Amorosi.
Present.
Commissioner Andrew Johnson.
Present.
And we also have with us here in council chambers, Ms. Suparna Dasgupta and Joanna Berry. And joining us by WebEx, we have Ryan Levesque, Steve Abrahamson, Karen Stovall, Robbie Aaron, Dalton Guerra, Adrian Zambrano, and Commissioner Michelle Schwartz joins us there as well. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, the first item of business we have is the approval of meeting minutes from past meetings. Let's see. We have reviewed these minutes and have not found any edits to be made. Let's see. So we've got study session and regular session from January 28th. Can I hear a motion regarding the approval of those minutes, please?
Mr. Chairman, Don Casano here. I would make a motion for approval of the study session from January 28th, 2020, and the regular meeting of January 28th, 2020.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Was that Commissioner Amorosi?
Correct.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
All right, so motion to approve from Commissioner Casano and seconded by Commissioner Amorosi. By roll call, let's do our votes. Commissioner Brown, how do you vote?
I approve.
Okay. Commissioner Casano.
Approve.
Vice Chair DiDomenico.
Approve.
I vote approve as well. Commissioner Sumners, how do you vote?
Abstain because I was absent.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Amorosi
Approve.
and Commissioner Johnson.
Approve.
All right, so the motion passes 6-0 with Commissioner Sumners abstaining. All right. Next on our agenda is our consent agenda.
Chairman, we have one other set of minutes.
Oh, yes, there we do. There they are. Sorry, we have the February 25th meeting minutes. Again, we've reviewed those and found no edits to be made. Can I hear a motion regarding their approval?
Mr. Chairman, Don Casano again. I would make a motion for approval of the study session February 25th, 2020, and the regular meeting of February 25th, 2020.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I can second that.
Commissioner Brown seconded. All right, so motion to approve from Commissioner Casano and seconded by Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Brown, how do you vote?
Approve.
Commissioner Casano.
Approve.
Vice Chair DiDomenico.
Aye.
I also vote aye. Commissioner Sumners,
Abstain, same for this time.
Commissioner Amorosi,
Approve.
and Commissioner Johnson.
I also abstain.
Okay. So the motion passes 5-0 with Commissioners Johnson and Sumners abstaining. All right. You guys keep catching me on the things that I forget. We'll be fine. Next up is our consent agenda. We have 2 cases scheduled for on our consent agenda here, which means we intend to approve them without hearing them. If there's anyone in our public joining us by WebEx that wishes to have one of these cases heard, you can let us know and we can remove that case from consent agenda and hear it. Those 2 cases are the Lakota residence and the Lemon Street single-family residences. Is there anyone in our in attendance by way of WebEx that wishes to have one of those cases heard? I'm getting shaking heads that say no. I see no sign of objection. So we'll continue with our consent agenda as written. Can I hear a motion regarding the approval of the consent agenda?
I move for the approval of the consent agenda as described.
Okay. Do I hear a second, please?
Second that.
Okay. I lost track of who was doing that there. Who do we have?
I'll defer to Phil.
All right. Commissioner Amorosi, that's a second then?
Correct.
All right. Motion to approve from Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Amorosi. Commissioner Brown, how do you vote?
I agree.
Okay. Commissioner Casano.
Agree?
All right. Vice Chair DiDomenico.
Aye.
I like that aye. Thank you. I also vote aye. Commissioner Sumners.
Aye.
Commissioner Amorosi.
Approve.
And Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
All right. So the motion passes 7-0, and those 2 cases have been approved. Thank you. So, having taken care of that, let's move on to the Rock residence. And let's see. I've got so many screens in front of me. I have to find the one that I need now.
Chairman, we have Ms. Kendra Chavez and Mr. Rock, Tom Rock, for Rock residents on the WebEx.
All right. So now I'm told the way we need to do this is staff is going to unmute you so that you can present your case. Let's see. This is actually a little bit tricky with so many different things to shuffle through. So you said Ms. Chavez, and who was the other person we'll be hearing from? Okay. All right. Well, if you're ready, we're ready to hear your case. Ms. Chavez, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can. And do we have Mr. Rock there as well? I'm getting a head shake saying no.
No, he said that he wouldn't be able to make it tonight.
Okay. Are you prepared to go ahead then?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the floor is all yours, Ms. Chavez.
Thank you. Also speaking will be my husband, David. He is the one that actually did the plans for this resident.
Okay.
Okay. So Mr. Rock had actually hired a contractor to do this new addition and remodeled area to their house. But when it was set out to start, this contractor did not have any plans or permits to this. So that is why he hired my husband to go ahead and move along with getting permits and doing the actual plan for this residence. Anything else?
And the inspectors they didn't want to do the final inspection on this process because there was no plans for this construction. So the inspectors, they required a new set of plans and a licensed contractor to finish the work. Then we did the full set of plans submitted to the city of Tempe, and they said that we needed to go into a variance for this. So we're trying to get approved for this. We're just trying to get final so we can complete this project. If there's anything we have to do, we will make sure we are going to do it, and that way we can close into this non-permitted construction.
Okay. And if I may, can you please identify yourself? We've got Kendra Chavez, and who else is on the line?
David Chavez.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. You may have said that and I missed it. I apologize.
No.
So,
No problem.
all right. Anything else you want to add before we start asking questions?
No, that's it, I believe.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. All right. So commission, what questions do you have for our applicant? And if we can go back to our system of using the little electronic hands just to maintain order, that would be convenient. Commissioner Summers, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to clarify, sorry, I thought this was something that had proceeded with a building permit, but no use permit. Am I hearing this right, that there was no use permit and no building permit and no plans submitted at all?
No, in the previous, when they started the construction work, there was no permits for this. And the previous contractor, he started doing all this remodel and addition into the house. That's when the inspector came in and said, hey, you got to stop doing all this stuff and get a building permit for this. So right now, as we speak, the construction, it's framed right now.
Right.
And we just needed, like I said, we're trying to finish the project. We don't want nobody to get hurt or nothing like that. So we're just trying to get it right. I know the previous contractor did a couple of things wrong, like no permit, no inspections and all that stuff. So Mr. Rock is trying to do it with us. He's saying, okay, well, I'm going to pay you for the plans so we can try to get this done.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, if I could follow up. Thank you, Commissioner Summers. So are you currently pursuing a building permit as well?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Vice Chair DiDomenico, please.
Staff, can you put up attachment 11 from the packet on the screen?
Chairman, we have the PowerPoint presentation. I can, yeah, let me.
Can you describe what it looks like so our folks over here can
Right.
find it a little easier?
Yeah, let
They
me.
don't have it listed by attachment number.
Attachment 11 is the first photograph about midway through the packet, and it shows the street view of the current condition of the project, which I'm assuming is the condition that the original contractor took the house to before the city put a stop to everything. There you go.
Yes.
So that's when you, Mr. Chavez, David, when you got involved in the project, this is what you walked into.
Yes, sir. Correct.
Okay. So I went there and looked at it, and this is exactly what it looks like today. The hose is right there. The structure is open air. It's composite board flush with the slump block remaining structure of the rest of the house. So I have no idea how it's going to be finished, but I've got to tell you, this looks so out of character with everything else on that street that I cannot imagine that the rest of the neighborhood hasn't had a comment about this. Just cropped out of this attachment 11 photo is a 6 or 7 foot setback from the side yard, lot line, and another house with a similar setback that's single story slump block that this tower sits over the top of. It's just a very strange looking structure, and it's going to stick out like a sore thumb because it doesn't match the rest of what it's attached to. Not just ignoring the fact that it's a 2-story water tower. So what are you going to do to make this thing, to design something that's going to be attractive for the rest of the neighbors that look at it?
Okay, so we're not gonna stucco it. We're trying to put, if you guys agree with it, we would like to put some stone that matches into the brick wall that we have now. And then, like I said, we don't, the first option that we had was stucco it, stucco the full addition. But at the end, we're like, hey, you know what? It's not going to match exactly what you said. It's not going to match into the neighborhood. So we spoke to Mr. Rock, and we said, hey, we have to at least match this house to what's there now. So we can probably put some phase brick into that addition to blend it in with what's existing there.
Yeah. The existing wall that's been framed there is at the exact same setback as the outer edge of the slump block. So if you were to put any kind of a finish other than paint, you've got another problem. I mean, I don't know what you do without tearing down what's been built and start over and do it the right way.
Right.
So that's my only question as to how you're going to make it blend.
I mean, as well, if there's anything to the roof that the thing is that we're trying to make it blended into the neighborhood. If we have to change the roofing to hip, we'll change it. I mean, any changes that you would like us to get it done so we can get it done. I mean, we have to make the changes, and if anything that you want us to change, we'll change it. That's not a problem.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Brown, please.
So I understand, Mr. Chavez, you were hired without nothing to do with the original construction, correct?
Correct, sir. Correct.
And this will be a matter of public record, I assume. Are we, without being rude, are we allowed to ask what kind of contractor would go this far without a building permit? And I guess I'm asking the city staff, Mr. Chavez. I'm not trying to put you on the spot because I think you're trying to help out someone who went too far. But it's just almost inconceivable to me that they got this far with no permit and without knowing that the permit's required. So I agree with Commissioner Domenico's comments that the boxiness of it and the flush plane is going to be a tough design problem. But I hope that you can in fact do some things to make that better suited. But I also am going to ask if this is a licensed contractor, and whether the same contractor will be involved in completing the construction, or will someone else be involved?
No, this is a total different contractor. He's got, we're trying to, he's gonna have to provide to the city his license, so
Okay.
so he can finish the work. And the previous contractor, he's not around anymore. He left. He left without completing.
Okay, you've answered all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Amorosi, please. Also, if the other commissioners, if you could turn your little electronic hand off, that would be appreciated. Commissioner Amorosi, we cannot hear you.
There we go. Sorry, Chairman Lyon. Thank you for acknowledging me. I noticed that there's a door on the side of the building that leads to the front yard, which makes it seem to me that they were just going to build like an apartment onto the side of their house. Why? That doesn't seem right in a residential area.
Yeah, no. So what he was trying to do is that right there where he put the door, that's an exit for too close to the front yard. We have a front door, but if somebody was in that addition right now, he said that it will be much easier to exit out through that door. I mean, but again, if we have to close it, we'll go ahead and close it. That's not a problem.
Thank you.
All right. Other questions for our applicant? You know, I'll just ask one. Mr. and Mrs. Chavez, are either of you aware of what the intended use is of this new space? Who do they intend to occupy this space?
Okay, so they're trying to make the top where you see the front window, the above floor is gonna be a bedroom. Then at the bottom, it's just a bathroom and a living room for their kids. Like a small plain area at the bottom.
All right. And
So the bottom looks like it's going to be a restroom and an activity room, and you'll have a bedroom there on the top room. The only reason why this was built as well is just because the family, they do grow. He does do, I'm sorry, I can't think of the word here. He's an adoptive family, so he does adopt a lot of children and going into his home, so he needs this extra space for the children that he does take in.
okay, so the intent is that this is for family. This is not intended to be an Airbnb rental. It's not intended to be a mother-in-law.
No,
this is strictly for his
them.
kids.
Yes, it's for them.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for our applicant? Seeing none, then we will thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Chavez, and we'll move to our staff presentation. Mr. Guerra, are you there?
Yes, Chairman Lyon, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Dalton Guerra, Planner 1 with the City of Tempe Community Development Planning Division. This request is for a use permit for a second-story addition. As you know, it's in the R18 single-family residential district. Next slide, please. Here you can see the site plan. They are meeting all the development standards for the R18 district in terms of setbacks and height and lot coverage. Next slide, please. We've kind of gone over the floor plan already with the applicant. Next slide, please. There's the second floor plan. Next slide, please. We've gone over some of the elevations here. Next slide, please. There's the east and west elevations. As somebody mentioned, this east elevation is adjacent to another existing single-family home. Next slide, please. There's some context photos, which we've also already reviewed. And I want to also clarify on the subject as well that according to the records that we have and some conversations with the building safety side, there were building permits issued for an interior remodel and addition in February of 2019. It was at the moment that the inspectors found out that there was a second story being proposed that they directed the applicant to come to the planning division and submit for a use permit. And so I think there may have been confusion at the beginning of this discussion, but there are building permits actually issued already. They're just now trying to rectify the second story being proposed with the planning division applying for this use permit. Next slide, please. There was no neighborhood meeting required. We did receive one letter, as I mentioned in the study session, that did not support or oppose the project. Next slide, please. And staff is recommending approval subject to conditions, and all the conditions are standard. I'm here if you have any questions.
All right, any questions for Mr. Guerra? Commissioner Sumners.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Garrett, is there any kind of a penalty for this kind of thing? I thought there was something about you pay twice the building permit fee or something like that. Or starting construction without a permit.
There is in the fee schedule for unauthorized activity. I'd have to double check to see if it was charged, and I'd actually defer to Steve to ask actually if that applies to single family or not.
I'm only asking because this sets a bad precedent if there's really no penalty and someone can just start and then deal with it when you get caught. And I don't want to set that precedent.
Yeah, I understand. Steve, are you there? Do you have any insight on this?
Yes, Chairman Lyon, members of the commission. With respect to a use permit that would be required and the construction's already been started, under normal circumstances, there would be a double fee of the use permit. I can speak with all honesty. I don't know whether the secondary fee, double fee, was charged.
Thank you, Steve. I was actually asking about just building permits. I didn't realize that was a possibility for this use permit. But I mean, the building permit, it sounds like was applied for single family or single story, and then somewhere along the way, someone decided to build more and just didn't ask for approval. That's the part I was asking about.
Thank you, Commissioner Saunders. I really don't know whether building safety assesses penalties for construction, unauthorized construction. I don't want to assume anything. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Abramson, I'd like to follow up. For clarity's sake, can you tell us to what extent this commission can make comment on the design aspects of this project?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Lyon. With single-family residential, we really don't, or the commission does not have any purview over the design, other than making suggestions, perhaps with the fenestration window treatments, so that privacy for the adjacent properties may be preserved.
Right. And now with respect to the use permit, one of the conditions we are to consider is the appropriateness of the structure. Would that include the appropriateness of a second floor addition of this kind?
Well, staff, planner Dalton Guerra and I reviewed the plans. It does meet the use permit criteria as established, but it is up to the commission to decide overall the appropriateness of this request.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have any more questions for staff? All right, seeing none, we will move on. Do we have any public comment at this time?
Chairman, I don't see any other public comments that came in live for this meeting.
Okay, and you know, I'm realizing I did not announce where people should go if they wish to make that comment. Ms. Dasgupta, can you tell us again, if we have someone joining us and they wish to make a comment on a case, where would they go on the website?
On our website, under Community Development Planning, there is a special web page that has been created, and the DRC meeting button is right there for the Development Review Commission meeting for tonight. And if they click on it, they can submit their comments, and it comes directly to Joanna and I to monitor live.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so let's go back to Mr. and Mrs. Chavez, if you please.
Yes.
Would you like to respond to any of the comments or questions that you've heard up to this point?
Do you want to respond to any of the comments or questions that anybody has said anything? So just to follow up though, just to let everybody know that we do plan on making this project the best to follow in with all the rest of the residents there down on Carmen Street. So that way it instead of bringing the potential value down, we want to bring it up. So that is just our main objective here on trying to really get everything to flow together and to and just to get this done so that way we can really help out this family with just this type of horrible situation they've had to go through with this.
Yeah, well, you're in an unenviable position. That's a difficult task. So, you know, all right, let's go back and ask more questions if we have any. Commissioners, any more questions for our applicant? I see you still have your hand up, Commissioner Sumners, but I believe that's from last time. All right, seeing none, we will well, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Chavez.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, Commission, what are your thoughts? Vice Chair DiDomenico.
This is a tough one for me because in driving the neighborhood and the pictures that are provided in our packet don't do it justice. It just it doesn't fit. You know, picture a 1960s, 70s neighborhood that's, you know, single-story ranch, slump block homes. And we've all seen neighborhoods where they all have that kind of general look of a, you know, in a neighborhood where the side yard setbacks are pretty tight. And one house in, you know, in the middle of the block has this silo slapped onto the side with finishes that don't match and a roof line that's out of place. So I know, you know, I don't want to design, you know, or tell the owner or the Chavez's how, you know, what it should look like. But I have a tough time feeling that this second story addition is appropriate in this neighborhood, given that all I have to go on is what's currently been built. So we haven't seen what it's supposed to look like. We haven't seen how they're going to make it blend or fit in with all the single story neighborhood. And so I am challenged to imagine a look that can be created that would make me approve this.
All right, Commissioner Amorosi.
Thank you, Chairman Lyon. Yeah, it's a shame that the owner of the property couldn't make the meeting for his own house. Nothing matches as far as if I'm building my house and I'm going to live in it, you would want it to fit in with the rest of the neighborhood. And even the house next door, that's a second story, it at least fits into the area more. And it isn't just like slammed on. It doesn't seem like there was much thought given whatsoever as to how the two structures are going to blend in as one house. And I can't in good conscience say, yes, I want to see this for the next 30, 40 years in this neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Cassano.
Mr. Chairman, I want to echo both of the commissioners and their comments. I too, in looking at this thing, frankly think it's a big eyesore. It doesn't fit, and I can't imagine what you could do to the existing structure that would make it look any better, other than literally to take it down and rebuild it or take that second story off. But again, you know, we really aren't, we're looking at the appropriateness of a second story in that neighborhood. And in good conscience, I really can't see how this is of value for the neighborhood. I think we just kind of stuck on the house to make extra room for additional children. I assume they're foster children or adopted from what was said. But I'm just concerned that it's not appropriate for the neighborhood. So when we get to the vote, we'll make the decision. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Any other thoughts? I'll just chime in, and I just think that this is kind of a disaster. I don't know the thoughts or intents of the Rock family, but this seems pretty clearly to be the consequences of not going about things the right way, and you get what you pay for. There are good design professionals and good contractors out there who may be more expensive, but that's because you're getting value, and you can be more assured that what you're going to get is going to work out well. And this is just sad to me, because I do think that this is a real problem for the neighborhood. This is a real eyesore, and it didn't have to be. So those are my thoughts. Vice Chair DiDomenico.
I think it's possible that we might get closer to comfort of a second-story addition if we just saw some prospective design on how this could be fixed. And maybe a continuance would give Mr. and Mrs. Chavez a chance to do that for us and bring it back. They're going to have to figure out what that involves as far as demolition and reconstruction, but rather than just voting up or down on that, I think that a continuance might be worth discussing.
All right, you may be right. I'll tell you, I'm starting to get a little uncomfortable because we are skirting dangerously close into this design issue. I feel comfortable talking about, does this structure make sense in the neighborhood in general terms? Does this fit the neighborhood to say, hey, there's going to be the second-story addition? But we're now talking about, well, that depends on if it looks good. And I think it's starting to get a bit muddy there. I'd like to hear the rest of the commission's thoughts regarding a continuance. Is anyone else interested in that? Commissioner Brown?
I think it gives them a chance, and I know that we do this all the time where I start talking about exiting and it's a signage addition or something. But yeah, I think the design is always encompassing, both the everything down from the name of the store to the intentions. And I also, don't need to repeat what you folks have said about the structure itself, but I do doubt very much that any homeowner understands that you can start construction without a permit. And I guess that's not really what we're talking about here either. But it would not be unkind to offer a continuance if that's what the Chavez and their client would prefer. As is, I think it's they're already starting. They're going to need to restart in some manner. So that's a step in the right direction.
All right. Commissioner Johnson. I'm unable to hear you right now, Commissioner Johnson.
Sorry about that. I agree. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I agree. A continuance could be beneficial in this case. It sounds like there's been some willingness on their part to take some to make some considerations for what it looks like. I think even from their perspective, this probably wouldn't be something they would have initially designed. So I think that there's probably some things that they could to work on to help bring this so that it would fit better into the surrounding context of the neighborhood.
All right. Well, shall we have a motion regarding continuance then? Commissioner Casano, let's hear from you first.
Just one thing, the only option we have tonight if the continuance does not go through is to either vote the second story up or down. And if we vote it down, then they will have to remove that second story. And I don't know where they are in that process, how they would handle that. So that's really our only option, because we don't get into the heavy design of any of these residential properties. So, you know, with that's our, as I say, that's our only option other than to either approve it or disapprove the second story use permit. And then they'd have to start over from scratch on that. So that's just my comment.
All right. You know, I guess I would say I feel that this case is not going to change in any way other than potentially how they clad the thing. And I don't think that how they clad it should be, I mean, to me, that is the design elements that we're saying are kind of off limits to us. For me, the elements that matter are the appropriateness of this kind of second story structure. And I don't believe that will change with a continuance. So I don't believe I would support a continuance. I would prefer to move on it tonight. Did I see Commissioner Brown? Did you have more thoughts you wanted to share?
I just wanted to ask if Mr. and Mrs. Chavez were authorized and willing to, how they feel about a continuance, since it seems as if they're authorized to speak to any level for the Rock family.
All right, can we go back to Mr. and Mrs. Chavez then?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so are you willing to continue?
So, I'm sorry, I don't want to sound rude or nothing, and I apologize in advance if I do. There's a couple of, the neighbor on the left side of this property, he has a 2-story building as well.
It's been there since 2008.
It's been there, you know, since 2008, and it's kind of, like I said,
kind of opposed to.
Yeah, with saying that
it's going to bring the value down.
It's, yeah, with saying that it's going to bring the value down, since the neighbors, there's a couple of houses there that they're 2-story additions as well. I don't see, or like I said, I'm sorry if I sound rude, but I think the Rock family should have the same idea of the other neighbors with the double story on this.
Yeah, no, you're certainly entitled to share thoughts like that. We don't take offense to that at all. And what are your thoughts regarding a continuance? Because I'll tell you what I'm hearing the commission say is they're not sure that they can vote to support this. And if we say we give you a continuance and you come back in a month or 2 months or however long it is, having prepared some more documents, and this is what we might do that we think might make it more acceptable. Maybe you get a more favorable vote when that happens.
Yeah, that's. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Have another chance to. I can draw. How's it going to be looking when it's done, so you can have a much clearer view of how it's going to be looking once it's done.
All right.
And
Okay.
I do have one question to this. So to this next property to the 954 East Carmen Street, do you know why that property has that 2-story there? And then what was it that made that property get an approval, and then for this one to not so much get an approval? What is it that we need to add in to make this, look as presentable as this other property that has the 2-story building?
Okay, well, I can't tell you the history of that property, not knowing it, not being involved. But from what I know of that property, the 2-story section is set back from the street very significantly. So it doesn't bear directly on the front of the house in the same way. In fact, it's a little bit less visible. And I guess from my point of view, which, again, is just me, the other commissioners might feel differently. I would say the big thing that's holding me back on what we have in front of us here is the shape of this thing. Right at the facade of the house, right at the very front, you extend that one room up, just sort of extrude it straight up. The word tower was used. And that's the part that just makes it feel so out of place. If that extra room was 20 feet further away from the street somehow, that might be different. That might feel like it has an appropriate sense of scale, appropriate sense of massing. But it feels very, very tacked on in a way that, I mean, gosh, we've seen lots of second-story additions happen in neighborhoods that are primarily single-story, and I've never seen anyone do it quite like this. Let's do this. How about? Before we entertain a motion regarding continuance, how about we ask the commission what thoughts or guidance they would offer to the Chavez, Mr. and Mrs. Chavez, and see if that's any help. Will that be acceptable?
Yes, that would definitely help out a lot. So that way, at least once we go into this, and if it is approved by this continuance, then at least we can know what we're looking at. So that way we don't bring you something else and you guys say, well, this is just not what we were looking for. And if you guys give us what you guys are strictly, you know, more of entertaining to this property to keep the value high, then we can at least bring you some type of expectation that you guys will hopefully approve by then.
All right, fair. Well, for my money, I would say you got to rip that second room off. And if you put something on a second floor, set it back from the street pretty far, or you might even come back and say, well, we decided we're just going to add some square footage at the ground floor. I'm not sure that that's possible, but I wouldn't keep that second story the way it is. Let's go around the room then. Commissioner Brown, do you have any thoughts you want to share?
I agree with your setback question. I'm on one of the screens. I'm on Google or Street View, and I can double down on what you commented regarding the second story addition to the other house. It's really inconspicuous, and in fact, it has a gable roof on a hip. With the rest of the house is a hip roof, but in that case, it's so far back that it's not so jarring. If you look on some of the photographs that were provided, there's actually some demolition. An arch was taken down. That's not part of the floor plan that we were presented tonight, but I'm going to assume that a structural engineer was involved or will be involved on this, if it is a two-story addition, on making it fly, making it work structurally, which is, again, not what we're reviewing, but it just seems like there's a need for a complete package that convinces us that the owners are making every effort to be sensitive to the neighbors in the neighborhood context. No other comments regarding materials or design. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Casano?
No comments.
Okay, Vice Chair DiDomenico?
Previous comments were on point for me also. I would say for me, since this is, other than the next door neighbor with the second story addition in the backyard or the back side of the house, this will be the second one in the neighborhood. And I'd say, striving to make it look like it's not an afterthought, that it was part of the original design and that it blends and even is set back from the frontage. It's the look from the pedestrian scale that gets me. When you're walking the street, what do you see when you pass that house versus all the other houses?
Okay. Commissioner Sumners, anything?
Yeah, just for me, I'm trying to stay out of the design realm, and I have thoughts about that, but I'm trying to stick to other factors. I would appreciate hearing from the owner as to what happened. How did we get here? I think someone asked the question earlier in the Chavez, I appreciate you're making great efforts here. And you mentioned you're sorry for the owner in a bad situation, but I gotta say the owners put themselves in this situation, and I'd love to hear how we got to this point. It's relevant to this decision for me.
Okay. Commissioner Amorosi.
Thank you, Chairman Lyon. Definitely, I would prefer if the second story was set back. I don't, without seeing how the finish is going to work with the bricks, some sort of final drawing, because that long window that's on the second story that's next to the horizontal. I don't understand what the purpose of that is. And maybe if they're going to be doing landscape around it, or how they're going to address that there's a side door that people can just go in and out of without a fence, or I don't know. There's not enough here for me to see what they're doing. I can't approve some if I don't see what they're doing. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Johnson.
I agree with the earlier comments. I don't have any additional recommendations. It's a really, I think it's going to be really tough to make that not look like it was just slapped in there, and to make it look a little more cohesive. I will defer to the other more design-oriented folks on the commission.
All right. All right, so we've given our little 2 cents on, I guess, what we would want to see in order to feel a little better about approving this. Shall we hear a motion regarding continuance? I'm not seeing anyone. Okay, Vice Chair DiDomenico.
So many buttons to push. Mr. Chairman, I move for continuance of PL 200011 to a date to be determined by the applicant.
All right, do I hear a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman, Don Casano.
All right, so let me make a couple of notes here. All right, so motion to continue from Vice Chair DiDomenico and seconded by Commissioner Casano. Commissioner Brown, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Casano.
Aye.
Vice Chair DiDomenico.
Aye.
I vote nay. Commissioner Sumners.
Nay.
Commissioner Amorosi.
Aye.
I believe that was an aye, correct?
Correct.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-2 with Chairman Lyon and Commissioner Sumners in dissent. All right, so you'll have some time to go and think about it and prepare additional documents. And when you feel you're ready, bring it on back to us. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Chavez. Let's move on to Yoshi Massage Spa. And who do we have as our presenter for Yoshi?
Chairman, we have Mr. Michael Harris.
All right. Are you with us, Mr. Harris? I see an exclamation point next to his name. What does that mean?
Why is that?
He's been away for a while.
Huh. Seems we've put him to sleep. All right. Well, in the absence of Mr. Harris, perhaps we'll proceed with our staff report, and hopefully he rejoins us in a couple of moments. So, Mr. Guerra, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here, Chairman.
All right. If you would give us your report, please.
Hello.
Mr. Guerra, we have you on mute right now. Huh.
Can you hear me okay?
We've got you now.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Dalton Guerra, Planner 1 with the City of Tempe Planning Division. This is a request for a massage establishment for Yoshi Massage that was continued from the last hearing. It's in the PCC 2 district It's off of Rural and the 60 freeway. Next slide, please. It's the same floor plan. It's the same request from last month. Next slide, please. Next slide. Again, neighborhood meetings not required. We received 1 letter of opposition and 1 call of support since the last continuance, since the last hearing, I should say. The call and support is just a
Mr. Kara, we see your mute keeps coming on.
Hello? Hello, if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. We're getting some odd noise, odd feedback.
I apologize on that. I don't know what to do, but I've called in about 5 times and I keep getting cut off.
Ah, this is Michael Harris we're hearing now. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Mr. Harris, what we did was we went ahead with the staff presentation until we could get you back on. So we'll come back and give you an opportunity to do your presentation in just a moment. Hopefully you're able to sort out whatever's going on. Fingers crossed. I don't know what the issue is. Mr. Gary, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. Did you finish your presentation? I think we lost you at the tag end at least.
I did finish it.
All right. And it looks like you are recommending approval subject to conditions, and those conditions being the standard conditions, yes?
Yeah, so maybe you didn't hear the very last part then. I just was stating that Tempe PD had no issues with the extension of the hours, and that we did add a condition regarding if complaints arise in the future regarding this request, that it will come back to the Development Review Commission for potential revocation.
All right, fair. Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Mr. Abramson.
Thank you, Commissioner Lyon. The feedback issue, if everyone would assure that they have their mics muted if they're not speaking, we probably won't have that issue or concern. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commission, any questions for staff? All right, seeing none, let's come back and see if we can get Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris, are you with us? I don't know if he's having a connection issue of some kind.
He was emailing Dalton that he was having connection issues with his microphone.
All right. Well, perhaps we'll give him a chance to join in.
Chairman, we do have a call-in number. We can try that.
Okay. How do we do that? Do we have him call this, or we call him?
What is that? Dalton? Do you know if Mr. Harris can request a call-in so Joanna can send that call-in number? He can log in and then do the call-in?
Yeah, that's what I tried to get him to do that. I provided him the phone number and the access code. So I'm not sure what the problem is. I can email him again, maybe more detailed instructions on how to do that.
Okay.
Hello?
Who have we got here? Is this Mr. Harris? Oh, they disappeared, whoever they were. We scared them off. That's what I think we're going to need to do. So does he have means to contact him and ask him if he will do the dial-in thing? All right. Commission, we're going to move on and come back to this one. Hopefully we can resolve this issue with the connectivity. So let's go to Massage 90210. And let's see. So I have that this is Shihong Lee for Massage 90210. Are you with us? Okay,
Chairman.
sorry. We've got to unmute you on our end.
Chairman, Adrian Zambrano just informed in an email that the applicant had to go to work and couldn't get off work and was unable to attend the meeting.
Okay. Well, we were only going to hear this one, I think, so Commissioner Brown could ask a couple of questions. So let's keep moving on then. Well, this is not going to change, actually. So let's hear this case and make a vote on it. Adrian Zambrano, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here, Chairman Lyon.
All right. Could you present us with the facts of the case, please?
Yes, sure. All right. Thank you, sir. My name is Adrian Zambrano. I'm a planning technician with the City of Tempe Community Development Department Planning Division. And this request is for a use permit to allow a massage establishment for Massage 90210, located at 655 West Warner Road in Suite 123 in the PCC2 Planned Commercial Center General District. And it's in the Pecan Grove Festival Shopping Center on Warner and Kyrene, as you can see in the aerial to the right. And just to go over some background for this case, this business has an existing location in Chandler, and they've been there for the last 9 years. And per the applicant, they will provide professional massage services administered by licensed massage therapists. And the applicant stated that therapists will be licensed and registered with the state of Arizona. And the applicant also mentioned that the equipment, supplies, oils, and lotions will be of professional commercial grade from licensed dealers and suppliers. And the business will have 5 to 7 employees at this location. And the hours of operation will be 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. This is the site plan that the applicant provided. You can see there, Suite 123, where the arrow points in this commercial center. This is a floor plan that the applicant provided, and the suite area is 2,108 square feet. And there is no neighborhood meeting that required for this application, and staff has not received any public input to date. And just to go over the use permit criteria per section 6-308E of the Zoning and Development Code. For approval criteria A, the proposed use would have minimal staff and clientele on site at any one time and would therefore have no significant increase in vehicular or pedestrian traffic. For approval criteria B, the business will be conducted indoors and will not be a nuisance in operational nature. C, the massage establishments are permitted use subject to use permit in the PCC2 district. D, the site is an existing commercial center with several commercial businesses operating in adjacent suites. And lastly, E, all business will be conducted indoors, and Tempe Police has no concerns with this use being proposed at this location. So in conclusion, the staff recommendation is to approve subject to conditions, and there are no unique conditions, just standard conditions would apply. And that
Okay.
concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Zambrano. Any questions for staff? All right, seeing none, we will thank you, Adrian. All right, so ordinarily you would get an opportunity to ask questions of our applicant, but since they are not able to attend, we're going to proceed with just what we have in front of us. So commissioners, what are your thoughts regarding this case? Commissioner Brown. We still have you muted.
Sorry, it's the standard procedure.
Right.
I appreciate that this is the second month in a row that we've had two massage businesses, and in both cases, well, I hope we hear the Yoshi project if we can get connectivity. In any case, I think some massage businesses actually have a higher quality of, I don't know, presentation or assurance that they're not actually fronts for prostitution, which is what we all don't want to talk about, but which does happen, which has happened in Tempe. And the fact that this this business plans to have 5 to 7 employees on staff makes it feel more legitimate. I would like to ask every such case whether they have one person at a time who's working on tips versus 5 to 7 people. So at this point, I see no reason not to vote in favor of this case. Thank you.
All right, anyone else wishing to make comment, or shall we have a motion? All right, let's have a motion then. Commissioner Amorosi.
Got to remember to do. Thank you, Chairman Lyon. I make a motion to approve Massage 90210 PL 200056 as presented.
Do I hear a second? Vice Chair DiDomenico?
I'll second the motion.
All right, so motion to approve from Commissioner Amorosi, seconded by Vice Chair Mike DiDomenico. All those, sorry, went into force of habit mode there. Commissioner Brown, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Casano?
Aye. Aye.
Vice Chair DiDomenico?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Sumners?
Aye.
Commissioner Amorosi?
Aye.
And Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
All right, motion passes 7-0, and they are approved. All right, so can we do an update on our Yoshi massage situation?
Chairman, Mr. Harris is back on and unmuted at this point, so hopefully he will be able to speak this time.
Okay, super. Mr. Harris, are you with us? I'm not able to hear you at the moment. Mr. Harris? All right, well, I tell you what, let's circle back one more time after, we'll go on to blue at East Line. Hopefully we can get Mr. Harris on. If we can't, we may have to go ahead and move in some fashion without him. So I believe Rob Lane is our presenter for blue, is that correct?
That is correct. Good evening, Chair Lyon.
Okay. Yeah, if you would favor us with your presentation, please.
Okay, thank you. Again, good evening, Chair Lyon, Vice Chair DiDomenico, Commissioners. Rob Lane, Senior Land Use Planner with the law firm of Gamage & Burnham, 2 North Central Avenue in Phoenix. I am here this evening on behalf of Jones Multifamily. With me this evening to assist in addressing any questions you may have are Jeff Jones, Christian Sigurdsson of K&I Homes, the project architect, Dustin Simmons of iPixel Studios, the project landscape architect, Eric Maseko of EPS Group, the project traffic engineer, and Manjula Vaz of Gamage and Burnham. Next slide, please. Jeff Jones has been working to assemble parcels along both sides of the east end of the Apache light rail corridor to accommodate the development of a mixed-use village for over a decade. As some of you may recall, DMB and Jeff were responsible for the original vision of Eastline Village. And Jeff was in part responsible for bringing in both Gorman, who developed the affordable housing development known as River at Eastline Village, and Cul-de-sac, who will be developing the portion of the village located along the south side of Apache. Jeff has also been working with the city's Housing Services Division to add to the city's inventory of affordable housing stock. One home along Lemon Street has been purchased for inclusion in the city's affordable housing stock, and the Lemon Street single-family residences just approved will further add to the city's affordable housing stock. The proposed mixed-use development that we're discussing this evening and the adjoining single-family homes to the north represent the next steps for completing the overall vision for Eastline Village. Next slide, please. The subject property, which is located at the northeast corner of Apache Boulevard and Smith Road, is comprised of 12 parcels totaling just over 4 acres in size. Next slide. The site is comprised of unimproved and underutilized properties. Next slide. With the exception of 2 small apartment buildings located on 3 of the site's 12 parcels. With that exception, the entire site is currently vacant and unimproved. Next slide, please. The area surrounding the site consists of a mix of existing and planned commercial, residential, employment, public, and transportation uses, including the Smith Martin Apache Light Rail Station and Valley Metro Rail line within the median of Apache Boulevard, the approved 3-story Eastline Village mixed-use development along the south side of Apache between the Smith Road alignment and River, the project site for the applicant's related Lemon Street single-family residences to the north, a post office at the northwest corner of Apache and Smith, the Escalante neighborhood to the north across Lemon Street, and the 4-story River at Eastline Village apartments at the northeast corner of Apache and River. Next slide, please. As reflected by this phasing plan dating back to 2016, the subject property is an integral part of the overall development plan for Eastline Village. The village is a multi-phased, mixed-use urban development that represents a rare opportunity to redevelop several parcels assembled over more than a decade and to create a unique project that will make a substantial statement along both sides of the light rail corridor. The first portion of the village's master development plan completed last year was a 4-story River at Eastline Village at the northeast corner of Apache and a River, showing as phase 5 on this slide, which provided 56 affordable multifamily housing units. And site work for the mixed-use development for the portion of the village along the south side of Apache approved earlier this year has also commenced. The proposed development and the associated Lemon Street single-family residence represent the next steps for completing the overall vision and plans for the village. Next slide, please. To facilitate the redevelopment of the site, we are requesting approval recommendations for the following. A general plan amendment to change the density projected for the site to high density, a zoning map amendment to rezone the site to MU4, a PAD overlay to establish site-specific development standards, and a development plan review for the project's design. As reflected by the staff's recommendation, the approval criteria for each request has been satisfied. Furthermore, the pending general plan amendment associated with the Urban Core Master Plan proposes to change the site's projected density to high density. In regards to the development proposal, the proposed improvements consist of two 4-story mixed-use buildings accommodating 187 residential units, including 9 street-level live-work units, and street-level co-working, leasing office, and resident amenity spaces. Landscape enhancements include a pool patio, and a dog park. There's a parking courtyard accommodating 209 on-site parking spaces, of which 152 of those spaces are covered, 10 motorcycle spaces, 11 on-street parking spaces, 7 on-street ride-share and delivery spaces along Apache, 184 bike spaces, and a new mid-street pedestrian connection to the light rail station. Next slide, please. To discuss the design, I'll now turn it over to Christian Sigurdsson to discuss the design in detail. Are we able to connect Christian?
I'm here. Can you all hear me?
We can.
Good evening to everyone that can hear me. My name is Christian Sigurdsson of K&I Homes, 6125 East Indian School Road in Scottsdale, and I'm the principal architect on the project. This slide shows the overall site plan and overall 3D massing of the project. The existing site, as you can see, is very long and narrow. The Apache Boulevard frontage is about 850 feet long and only 200 feet deep. Luckily, it's long in the east-west direction so that when the buildings are placed along the street, they are ideally oriented to our climate with their long sides facing north and south. Due to the overall length, we decided to split the project into 2 equal-length buildings and separate them in the middle with our open-air amenity space to break up the massing along the street. Each building is then again split in half by the recessed main lobby that runs all the way through the building at the ground level and provides an identifiable entry on both north and south sides of the building. The vehicular access is purposely limited to 1 driveway along Apache at the southeast corner of the site and 1 driveway along Smith at the northwest corner of the site to minimize conflict between vehicles and pedestrians. Convenient surface parking for patrons and visitors is provided at both of these access points that then lead to the secured resident parking behind the buildings, most of which is covered with shade canopies and completely hidden from street view. The parking also provides an appropriate buffer between the higher density development along the light rail to the Escalante neighborhood to the north. For added convenience, we incorporated 18 parallel street parking spaces along both streets, 7 of which will be designated for pickup and delivery and placed directly in front of the main lobby to each building and at the central hub activity area in the middle. Convenience aside, this also increases the activity level at the street and provides for a unified urban character along the street frontage. Co-working, live-work commercial, leasing office, and residential amenity spaces are provided at street level to activate the street frontage. The buildings are stepped back and forth along the street, provide room for patios and shade trees along the street frontage, as well as convenient bike parking and shaded seating areas. While we are located at the Smith Martin Light Rail Station, the current access to the station is inconveniently located further west off Martin Lane. So we are providing a new pedestrian crossing, connecting directly to the light rail platform and aligning with a similar crossing to and from the mixed-use cul-de-sac project on the south side of Apache. The main common amenity area in the middle includes the pool, spa, barbecue, and related features, and this area is flanked on either side by additional common activity areas, such as the gym, the yoga room, game room, and our model leasing unit. Additional outdoor amenity areas are also provided behind the building for residents that includes a vegetable garden and a large dog park. The overall site includes about 23% of the net area as landscape and hardscape in addition to the right-of-way improvement, which is a very high ratio for any urban setting like this. The landscape improvements incorporate the Apache character area plant palette, creating an inviting environment and ample shade for pedestrians along the street sidewalks. The 3D view on the left shows the overall project from the southwest along both street frontages, and the 3D view on the right shows the overall project from the northeast, showing the parking buffer and the relationship to the lower density area to the north. Next slide, please. This slide shows the overall streetscape elevations along Apache Boulevard. The west are building 1 on the top of the slide, and the east are building 2 below. The overall architectural character can be described as contemporary with a mid-century modern twist. The buildings are designed to form a unified whole, connecting across the community pool area in the middle with a large shade canopy. The main entrance lobby is located in the middle of each building as a recessed vertical element that breaks up the overall mass of the building, and then large geometric forms are used to further break up the buildings into smaller components to reduce the perceived scale within the streetscape. Large wall art murals, which will feature colorful abstract art images, bookend both buildings on either side of the middle pool area. And as previously noted, the building facade also steps in and out along the street to allow for shade trees and large patios along the street frontage that evoke movement along the streetscape and enhance the overall pedestrian experience. Next slide, please. This slide shows the overall streetscape elevation along Smith Road. On the north end, you have the parking lot entry. Along the street front, you have live-work units with direct individual and identifiable entrances to the commercial components of the units. Then we have the main leasing office on the corner with entrance from both streets. Next slide, please. Here we have a perspective view of the street corner looking northeast from the light rail platform. By principle, the design strives towards simplicity, honesty of materials, and clarity of form. Inspired by mid-century modern architecture, the design is characterized by straight edges and smooth rectilinear forms in a balanced composition that expresses the form and functionality of its components. The ground floor commercial space along the Apache and Smith frontages is designed for high visibility of tenant spaces with tall storefront windows, porcelain tiled walls, and decorative block walls around the covered patios. The ground floor commercial space also defines the building's base, while a deep cantilevered roof overhang defines the building's top. The corner is recessed to create patio space at the ground level that is accented and covered by the extruded balconies above. Next slide, please. Here we have a perspective street view of the central hub activity area between the two buildings. We have the large wall murals bookending the buildings on either side. The buildings are then connected across with a deep roof canopy that shades the seating area on the street side along the row of rideshare parking spaces. A row of date palms run through the roof canopy, and the pool is partially screened from view with square-on-square breeze block and blue-colored glass panels that provide privacy while maintaining a feeling of openness and creating interesting shadow patterns. These are also classic mid-century modern design features. Large-scale concrete planters are also used to add character and provide shade trees that couldn't otherwise be planted in the ground due to all of the existing underground utilities. Next slide, please. Here we have a perspective view of the northwest corner of the building as seen looking southeast from Smith Road at the driveway entrance to the northwest parking lot. Balconies are both recessed and protruded to break up the mass and create a rhythmic movement across the building. Several balconies are then framed together with extruded yellow walls and continuous roof overhang, creating a large geometric shape that break up the building mass, especially when viewed from further away. Next, please. And here we have a perspective view of the other end of the building on the east side from the driveway entrance to the east parking lot. This shows one of our stair towers, all three of which are exposed masonry, intricately colored with offset shadow black pattern, painted with our accent yellow color, enhancing the vertical character of the stairwell elements. The blue and yellow accent colors are special theme paint by Modern Masters that was originally created by Don Edwards for the Walt Disney theme parks, using non-fading color technology that holds up to the elements over time, even our harsh sun. Next slide, please. And here we have a photo of our color board, since we can't very well pass that along amongst you. The design incorporates a variety of high-end materials and finishes that are true to form and function. The street level includes intricately colored masonry in a variety of sizes, colors, textures, and patterns. Breeze block, along with accent-colored metal railing panels and on the balconies, reminisce the mid-century modern roots of the design. Main lobby exterior walls and the extruded corner balcony elements are clad with aluminum wood siding, which also provided on the underside of the roof overhang. The ground floor commercial space features full-height storefront with dark brown anodized finished, with walls in between clad with textured porcelain tile. Standing seam metal roof panels are provided for the shade canopies. The main building walls above the street level feature intricately colored stucco system, providing a fine textured, smooth surface appropriate to the modern design. The main stucco color is a warm light gray, with medium gray accent colors at the back side of the balconies that emphasize depth. And the darker gray is used between windows to break up the elevation both horizontally and vertically. The bright blue and yellow accent colors are sparingly used to highlight and create special design features. With that, I'll wrap it up and turn it back over to Robert for a closing statement, but be happy to discuss this further and answer any questions you may have after that. Thank you. Rob.
Thank you, Christian. Next slide, please. In closing, the proposed development is representative of the ongoing reinvestment occurring along the light rail corridor that has been planned and envisioned for decades. The proposed development is consistent with the original vision for East Line Village, and the project will be an integral part of the village by providing high-quality, modern residences with active street-level uses and landscape improvements that will enhance the pedestrian realm along both Apache and Smith Road. The proposed site design by pushing the buildings towards the street frontages, combined with the adjoining Lemon Street single-family residences to the north, provide an appropriate transition between the more intense development envisioned along the light rail line and the Escalante neighborhood to the north. We are very excited about the project. We respectfully request your approval recommendation, and we're more than happy to address any questions you may have. Thank you.
All right, Commission, questions for our applicant? I have one that's not particularly pressing. All right, I have a design question, and as I say, this is not going to affect how I vote on the case, but I'm curious. The yellow architectural surround elements that you have, I'm curious, how do you plan on treating the top surface of those? What's the detail there? What's the material?
Christian, would you like to respond?
Yes, I'll take that. At the top, those are only about 2 foot deep, so they'll be have the same stucco finish on the top and the bottom, basically on all sides that we have shown the yellow color.
Okay.
And they're not deep enough to where that's going to create a water issue. We slope them down a little bit, waterproof them.
Okay, simple enough. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for our applicant?
Mr. Chairman, Scott Sumner's here.
Yes, Commissioner Summers.
Just a question about parking. But just interesting to see the different kinds of development that are going up on Apache and different approaches to parking. We saw one come in that has no parking. This one, it looks like you've got a requirement for quite a bit more than you're providing, but a traffic study that justifies about half of what you're providing. So just curious how you got to 220 some spaces or whatever you're at.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Sumner. In terms of East Line Village, the overall village, looking at it as a whole, is designed to provide different housing choices for people that are looking for different options, and that includes parking. So as you mentioned, across the street, we have a project that doesn't have any residential parking. We have a development in the village that has been built for affordable housing, and just approved this evening, you have single-family detached homes with 2-car secured garages. So this is a project that is looking for a little bit of a different demographic for those that are looking to live in a village mixed-use development that is providing a lot of different choices, and we think that the parking ratio proposed is appropriate for that reason, with also the acknowledgement that we are actually requesting a reduction from the code requirement.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we will thank you. Thank you, Rob Lane et al. And let's ask Ms. Karen Stovall if she will tell us some more about the project. Ms. Stovall, are you with us?
Yes. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Karen Stovall, Senior Planner. I'm going to briefly summarize the request. I think the applicant did a good job at it. But this site is located at the northeast corner of Smith Road and Apache Boulevard. The applications include a general plan density map amendment from 25 dwelling units per acre to go up to 65 dwelling units per acre, a zoning map amendment from CSS TOD and R4 TOD to MU4 TOD, a planned area development overlay to establish the development standards, and a development plan review for a new 4-story mixed-use development with 187 dwelling units and commercial uses that include both live-work units and co-work space. Next slide, please. The proposal includes 2 4-story buildings adjacent to Apache with a pool in the middle. As the applicant stated, there are 2 driveways, one on Smith and one on Apache. There's guest parking before both of the vehicular gates that lead to the resident parking, and the resident parking is under canopies. Next slide. And next slide. And keep going. Go ahead to the neighborhood meeting summary. There you go. A neighborhood meeting was required for this request. It was held on March 3rd, 2020. One individual attended who expressed support for the project, and staff also attended that meeting. We have not received any public input since that meeting. Next slide, please. We are recommending approval subject to the conditions, and the applicant has reviewed the conditions. The only unique one that we have applied to this is regarding the pedestrian and light rail crossing on Apache, as the applicant stated, that it needs to be either constructed or money needs to be placed in escrow for its construction prior to the first certificate of occupancy. That's all I have to say, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for Ms. Stovall? Seeing none, we will thank you. Oh, wait.
Okay, thank you.
Last moment, I think we may have one. Vice Chair DiDomenico.
Ms. Stovall, just describe in general, what's the vision for what that pedestrian crossing or tie-in to the transit station? Does that look similar to what's done at, like, say, Apache and McClintock? Or are we talking about something different?
Commissioner, no, it's going to be standard for what you've seen for pedestrian crossings for all along Valley Metro. To my knowledge, there's no specific design in place yet. The applicant would begin working with Valley Metro and the Transportation Division once this project is approved. But it's going to be a signalized section where a pedestrian would, hit the signal and vehicles would stop. And it will align with the one that the cul-de-sac development on the south side is also constructing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any other questions? All right, I think we got it that time. Thank you, Ms. Stovall. Do we have anyone wishing to make comment on this case? Have we received any requests?
Chairman, we do not.
Okay, well, that makes that easy. All right, so we'll go back to Rob Lane and team. Are there any additional comments you wish to make or things that you'd like to respond to?
There aren't, Chair Lyon. We would like to take the opportunity to thank staff and Karen for working with us on this project and, as always, helping us throughout the process.
Well taken. Thank you. All right, then. Let's move on to commissioner thoughts. Commission, what are your comments and thoughts? Commissioner Amorosi.
Thank you, Chairman Lyon. Yeah, I think this project shows a real sensitivity to what they're trying to accomplish on Apache Boulevard. It's not 7 or 9 stories. It's a nice 4 stories high. They're sensitive to the Escalante neighborhood by having that buffer of single family homes behind there. I like the way even the community space breaks up the whole complex and they make it integral to the frontage where people can see what's going on and looking through there. I like the landscaping and then the 2 large murals right on the building. Adds a nice sense of tying it all together. bright yellow doesn't bother me at all. I think that's a kind of a fun color. We got the blue there, and then there's brick frontage. So I really like this project. I think the developer took the extra effort, even with the light rail crossing, adding another light rail crossing to the project, that I'm going to vote in favor. Thank you.
Okay.
Chairman, we just noticed a gentleman by the name of Andrew Pies. I'm not sure if he's somebody who wants to speak about this project. I don't have any information on him.
Is he with us in the WebEx meeting?
Yes, he is.
All right. Can we
Unmute him.
not able to see that?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Paez, are you? Yes, Vice Chair DiDomenico.
Well, Mr. Paez in his request says he owns the apartments immediately north on 11th Street. So that's some background of who he is.
Okay. Mr. Paez, are you with us? We're not hearing anything.
Chairman, he does not have a microphone, but Mr. Pai is just saying in a chat here, I have no objection to the project, just wanted to understand the nature of the wall to be constructed between. And he's the owner of the apartments immediately north on Lemon Street.
I see. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Paez.
Rob, if the applicant would like to address that.
Exactly. If we can come back to our applicant, if you want to respond to that, the nature of the wall on the north side between the, is it the wall on Lemon Street that we're talking about? Or on the Lemon Street side?
I would assume it's the wall that separates our parking lot to the development on Lemon Street is what I would assume we're talking about, which would back up to those apartments, existing apartments that are there. So we are basically building a they vary in height. So next to the single family uses, the wall is an 8-foot high CMU wall. And then next to the other multifamily, it steps down to 6 feet. So it's basically a solid 6-foot high masonry wall with a pattern, exposed intricately colored wall, and then landscaping in front of that as well. That helped to buffer further.
All right, fair enough. Thank you. Let me circle back now.
Mr. Pius says thank you for the answer.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad you got a chance to ask your question. Let's circle back to our commission now, if there are no other comments. Commissioner Brown, please.
I just want to compliment the clarity and the complete design aspect. This is really well done. In fact, I kind of wish that some of this design sensitivity was used along Broadway Road and some of the other places where we have not seen such efforts. So thank you for doing such a nice job. I think this will be a great asset. Thank you.
Commissioner, Vice Chair DiDomenico, I see your hand up still. Do you wish to make comment?
Yes, please. I just wanted to comment that I'm a big fan of this project. And I want to commend the applicant. I think you did a fantastic job on a concise and well thought out presentation. And the graphics were just what we needed to understand the project. So thank you very much.
Fair enough. I apologize. I don't know who was first, so I'm going to ask for Commissioner Johnson's comments.
Thank you. I'm going to continue the accolades to some extent. I think the project looks very nice. The techniques to break up the massing seem to really do the job, and I think that'll be helpful when you're driving along or walking along the street along Apache. I really like the use of the breeze block. I'd like to see that used more, and the other shade elements that have been incorporated into the project. And lastly, that the new light rail connection walkway, it's not only going to make it more convenient to use the light rail for the development, but it also makes it much more safe so people are not crossing extra intersections. So I'll be in support of the project.
Okay. Commissioner Sumners, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few comments. It's very rare we see a project come along like this that has no major issues. So thank you. I think capitalizing on what Phil Amorosi had said earlier, I really appreciate the density and the height and the fact that it achieves what we're trying to do in the general plan along light rail and yet still respect the single family neighborhood. And I also notice a little note on the plans that says that the murals will be hand painted by local artists, and that's a home run in my book. Nice job. Thank you.
Very nice. Commissioner Casano.
Mr. Chairman, if we go back on the history of Apache Boulevard and how many times our attempts were made to redevelop this area, I'm glad it didn't happen too soon, because projects of this type and style don't come along every day. And with what's going on the south side of Apache and this project to the north of that, it's going to just anchor that end of Tempe and make it a statement area as people drive in or travel on the light rail in and out of Tempe. So I commend the designers, I commend the developer, I commend everybody who's been involved with this project, and I say it's a fantastic job. Thank you.
Yeah. So just quickly, I'm going to chip in and agree with everything that I've heard. I think it's a good looking project and it's a smart project. I'd also like to add, in case anyone is listening, if you're ever going to give us a big wall, a big, beautiful mural is a winner for me. I think that is a fantastic way to treat a large wall, and I'd love to see more of it. Thank you for your presentation. So, Commission, let's have a motion regarding this case, please. Commissioner Brown, please.
Yes, I move that we approve the blue on Apache as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman, Don Casano.
Okay, and I apologize if you intended to make a motion. I wasn't clear if the hand had gone down and back up or not.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got to take that hand away.
Okay, so motion to approve from Commissioner Brown and seconded by Commissioner Casano. Commissioner Brown, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Casano.
Arousing aye.
Vice Chair DiDomenico.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Commissioner Sumners.
Aye.
Commissioner Amorosi.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, so now we've got to backtrack a little bit. Just quickly, I noticed that we have Rick Lakota in our attendee list still, and I presume that is because our elocution is riveting. But just in case you missed it, your project was approved on the consent agenda, and we thank you for bringing it before us. So now let's go back to Yoshi Massage.
Chairman, we are going to try to call Mr. Harris right now through WebEx.
All right, so we're going to do some technological wizardry here. Cross your fingers. You know, I've been watching a show on Netflix. I won't name the one, but it's historical in nature, and they show the switchboard operators making connections, and my wife and I laughed. Isn't it funny how difficult communication used to be? And we're actually doing exactly that right now. Mr. Harris, can you hear us? Well, all right. We're seeing no answer, and regrettably, we're not able to get the sound of your voice here. So I think we're going to have to move forward without that. Fortunately, we were all graced last month with your presentation. So, oh wait, I'm being told to hold up a moment.
I'm right here. Hello.
Ah.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I have been on the hook here 5 or 6 times, and this time it's less ink. And I don't know what
Mr.
to
Harris,
do about
could you
that.
turn the volume of your speaker down? We're getting a lot of feedback.
Volume of the speaker. I'm going to give that a shot. Can you hear me at all?
We can hear you, yes.
My speaker's at 0. Oh, you're talking about maybe the speaker on the computer. Maybe? Gotta figure that one out.
Yeah, you
anyway.
could mute your speakers on your computer.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to that. Gotta find it. General.
That'll have the added benefit that you won't have to have me interrupt you.
I apologize. Does that help?
Yes.
Does that work?
Yes. If you can see me, yes.
I can't see you, but I can see you now. If I can turn you up on my phone. Are we working now? Okay. I wish you could see me because I'd do a thumbs up as well. At any rate, interesting meeting. I'm very sorry to make it drag on a little bit longer, and I know you tried, and believe me, I tried very hard, and I've been here 2.5 hours trying to get through. And I honestly, Mr. Chairman, I don't know what staff is recommending. From Dalton, I don't know what they actually recommended. And I can't hear you guys at all. So I've got to turn you back up a little bit. Oh, crap. I apologize. Give me one. Let me try to get this set up again. Because I need to be able to hear you. Okay, how's that? Is that okay?
That
Chairman?
seems all right.
Oh, good. Thank God. Okay. I hope the rest of your evening goes better. That was, by the way, that last project was a very nice project. And I'm speaking from experience. I was a planning commissioner for a couple of years in Henderson, Nevada, then a city councilman. So I sat through a lot of those. That was a nice project. My name is Michael Harris, MGHLCC, LLC, I'm sorry, officer and owner of Yoshi. What we're requesting is the original request, which was to extend hours 6 days a week and to add a 7th day, Sunday. The issue before you a month ago was issues dealing with a facility that we had in Glendale, Arizona. We have since sold that. In fact, it's supposed to clear all the hurdles at the end of this week, which is neither here or there as far as the part that the city of Tempe was concerned about. There was an employee. The employees at these stores are they're contract hirees, and they're not really sworn-in employees. We check for licenses and tell them to go to work. We had an employee last August who allegedly and admitted to soliciting an officer from the city of Glendale. From what I understand, we terminated her, but from what I understand, she has pled guilty and moved on. I don't have a clue where she is or anything. Now, we have been closed, not only our local Tempe store, but our Glendale stores, we've been closed up for almost 3 months now. And we're not so sure what this virus issue is going to do to our businesses at all. If it goes on much longer, it's probably going to be the end of all of them. The request for the additional hours at this point would be much more helpful than it was the last time we talked, because we've been closed even longer, and we need to try to make up a little ground. I want to add also, we were with the city of Glendale licenses there for 13 years and never had one violation. This particular one, it was a bad apple. You know, we hired a bad apple. That happens from time to time. Every company goes through that. And of course, the apple's gone, and we end up with a black eye. Not only are we selling the store, that person's gone. We don't run that kind of an operation. I heard earlier tonight you had testimony from a massage applicant that they were going to run 7 or 8 people. We're 1 or 2. I got 1 manager between a couple of stores and 1 or 2 people working. And hopefully there's enough business left to continue to operate. I just don't know. So we would request the additional hours, respectfully, and an additional day. And we'd love to continue to extend our business in Tempe, Arizona. Thank you. Darn it, Mr. Chairman, I can't hear you.
That's because I forgot to push my mute button.
Oh, hey, you sound as good as you look.
All right, thank you. Questions for our applicant, please.
By the way, this was better than a movie tonight. This was good.
Commissioner Brown. You're on mute still, Commissioner Brown.
Boy, this is a disease. Okay, Mr. Harris, if you don't mind. We have quite a few massage places in Tempe, and I typically ask if everyone who applies for a use permit understands that the little tacky A-frame signs that people like to put on the sidewalks and on the street, it says massage 7 days a week or whatever, are understood by you to be against city code and will not be used?
Commissioner, thank you. You asked me that question last time, and in the negative, we would never put up an A-frame sign. We don't do that anywhere, or any temporary sign. Whatever sign is on the building legally, that's it.
Okay. I guess you said you've had one problem employee in all these years, and I trust that you've review and that we don't have to worry about that sort of activity, which has happened in Tempe.
Well, we do our very best, sir, to hire the best people, like I think any company does. We got a bad apple, and we only had that bad apple for about a week or so. At the time, my fellow officer in the corporation, who is my wife, who's the manager normally, was out with cancer surgery. And at the time this went down, she just got out of Banner, was in recovery, and was not really watching the store like she should have. And so another person had this person come on board by just looking at the licenses, and we didn't know any history. Of course, we found out a little bit later, but at any rate, that's not our way of life. We don't do that.
I guess the other comment is if you have multiple locations, it would probably be safer for the employees and better business practice to have 2 employees at one location rather than 1 employee at 2 locations. But that's your call on how to do that business. It just seemed a little lonely, a little dangerous, and prone to problems.
Probably like Commissioner, like most businesses, and I don't know, we really don't know what's going to happen once we just now got the Arizona governor to approve us to open. We then, of course, can change a lot of the health and safety issues, which is proper protocol. We're okay with all that, doing the temperature guns and all the things as safe as we can be. But we don't know what the future is going to be, and I don't think any of us do. But in our particular businesses, it's going to be a little tougher because there's actually touching, as there is like haircuts and other things. But we hope it's going to pull through. This might have ended up breaking most all of us in this business. This is a tough deal, and hopefully we'll have vaccines and we'll all get better and we can go back to the way of life we had before. We try our very best to do the right thing and hire the right people, and we advise them and have them sign a piece of paper that they're going to obey laws. Sir. Did I answer your question, Mr. Commissioner?
Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for our applicant? Okay, seeing none, we will thank you, Mr. Harris. Okay, so we got there. We've already heard our staff presentation. Do we have any public comments? Looks like that's a no.
Chairman, we don't.
Okay. All right, so let's move on then to Commission. What are your thoughts? We can go straight to a motion if no one has a comment. Commissioner Casano.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion for approval of Yossi Massage Spa case PL 200015.
All right, do I hear a second?
Commissioner DiDomenico, I'll second.
Okay. All right, so just quickly, does anyone want to throw in a comment before we take this motion? No, then let's do it. All right, so motion to approve from Commissioner Casano and seconded by Vice Chair DiDomenico. Commissioner Brown, how do you vote? You were on mute there. One more time. Yeah, one more time, Commissioner Brown. Still
Okay, let's try this time. I vote aye. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Casano.
I vote aye.
Vice Chair DiDomenico.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Commissioner Sumner.
Aye.
Commissioner Amorosi.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 7-0. So thank you, Mr. Harris, for sticking with it. We got there. Teamwork makes the dream work. All right, so that is all of our regular items. Ms. Dasgupta, do we have any additional updates on future items?
No, Chairman, except we do have a meeting on June 9th. And it's most likely still going to be through WebEx.
Okay. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, then we are adjourned. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.